Okay, hello everyone. So I welcome everyone to today's class. So I believe we can all hear me.
Yes.
Okay. So yesterday we talked about the rudiments of front end development. So we went about the requirements, what we need to become a front end engineer, and we also described the constituents of front end engineering, which is HTML, CSS, and which are majorly HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Okay, and we also described some. Okay, sorry. We also described some tags yesterday. So we talked about the heading tag. We talked about the paragraph tag. We talked about span tag, and we also talked about block and inline elements. So I also described what BR tag is. What type of tag is BR? So can someone explain that? Can we all see my screen? Someone should respond to that. Can we all see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So what type of tag is BR? Hmm?
BR is a
The
break
line
tag.
break.
Okay. So yesterday I explained what tags are. So I said we have for major tags in HTML we have an opening tag and a closing tag. So and I also explained what is called a self-closing tag. So BR is called a self-closing tag. So for HTML5 we don't really it is not necessary to close a BR tag. But when we move into other advanced libraries like React and the like. So you have to add a closing tag to it. So you can just have something like this. So we have a forward slash to make it self-closing. Sorry. I believe you can see my screen better now.
Yes.
Okay. So can someone describe what is the difference between block and inline elements? What are the differences between block and inline elements?
A block elements occupy the full line and starts on a new line, while an inline element can occupy where we have multiple inline elements, they can occupy the same line without starting on a new line.
Okay, so that is very correct. So a block element occupies the total width of the viewport, and an inline element does not. So a block element will always start on a new line. That is the major difference between a block and inline elements. So I'll be giving us some examples. I'll be giving us more examples on block and inline elements. So before that, we'll also be describing some tags. So let's go on. So we have something called the strong tag. So it is used for emphasis. So let me just create a paragraph here. And let me just have something like this. Okay, let me have something like this. Mm, no, so this is just a dummy text. So I'll be using this as a medium of explanation for us. Okay, so let's say I want to make emphasis because strong tag is used for making emphasis. So let's say I have something here. Hmm, let's put this in the strong tag. So if I'm to show this in my browser, so let me come here and go live. So you can see that the element that is put into the strong tag is has become bold. So that is the major function of strong tag. So it makes an element become bold. So we also have, although these are all major use in HTML. When we get into CSS, you can actually design this with your you can design this using HTML. So it has strong as no requirements, no much requirements in HTML. So if we check our where is it? So if I inspect my browser, so we can use this to check the styles in our HTML. So if I come here, so we can see that it shows a font weight of bold over here. So strong is majorly used to embolden an element in HTML. So we also have something called emphasize. So let's use this here. The M to emphasize. So we have that here, emphasize. So if we go on to check our browser, so we can see this here that's been emphasized. So an emphasized tag basically makes our text be in italics. So I think if we check our console here in the browser, okay, yeah, if you check here, so we can see our font style is in italic. So it is also used for making emphasis. So strong is used to make an element bold, and emphasize is used to make an element in italics. So we'll be moving on to another tag. So it is called the A tag. Okay. So these are okay. So what is an A tag? So A tags are usually they are used to create links in HTML. So if I have an A tag here and I say www.facebook sorry facebook.com. So this is just a text. If I come over to my browser, so and you can see it here. If I click on this, it's not going anywhere. So it will just refresh the particular page. So if I come over here and just type the link, and let me just copy this here. So I think now we have a link. So this here is an attribute. It is called an attribute. So attributes are they are they are in tags. They are used in tags, and they provide information about an element, and they are usually placed in the starting tag. So in the start tag, and they are usually a pair of key. So this href here is the key, and this here after the equal to sign is the value. So they are a pair of key and values. If as we've added our hypertext reference, so this you can see that it is showing me that I can follow the link. So if I come over to my browser and I come here, so if I over it, it will show me that this is a link that is pointing to facebook.com. So if I am to click on this, so it will go, yes, as you can see, it links me to Facebook's login or registration page. So we can see that this opened in the same tab. So this opened in the same tab. So if I don't want something like that to occur, so you can see that I have just only two tabs here, which is this Byte plus React and HTML crash course. So if I want to make an exception to that, so I can just come here and say target. Target is also an attribute. So I can just say blank. So this will open this particular link in another tab. So I can have this. So once I click on this, so it's opened this in another tag. So we can see in another tab. So we can see HTML crash course here, and we have facebook.com page here. So I think that is all about link. So we'll be moving on to another aspect in HTML, which is called list. So we're moving on to list. So we're moving on to lists. So we have basically major two types of lists. We have the ordered list and we have the unordered list. So we have the ordered list. The ordered list. And we have the unordered list. We have the unordered list. So with that, so I'll be dealing with unordered list first. So we can see we have UL. So the major difference between an ordered list and unordered list and ordered list is just the starting tag. So here UL represents unordered list. So we can have list items using the li tag. So list items. So let's say I have a list of fruits, so I can just have something like apples. Then I can just maybe duplicate this and have some other fruits here. Mangoes, lemons, watermelons, and probably some oranges. Okay. So if you want to show this in my browser, okay. Yes. So if I'm to come here, so we can see we have this here. We have a list with our items, a list items. So we have apples, mangoes, lemons, watermelon, and the likes. So if we move into ordered list, so let me just duplicate this using ordered list. So if I'm to duplicate this, I'll just come here. I can just come here. I'll just come here, yes. So we can see the major difference between ordered list and an unordered list. So you can see, so an unordered list will just give them in bullet points, and ordered lists will give them in numerals. So actually we can change this in CSS. So in CSS we call this list type a Dix list type. So I can just come here, okay, if I come to the console of my browser and I come over here, so if I check each of this, so we can see that, okay, so we can see display is list item, so we can see that here, list item. So if I come here and I click on this, so we can see that our list style type is disk. So it is always disk by default. It is something we can change. So when you get to CSS, we have other list types like Roman numerals. We have you can change them to squares and the likes. So majorly, lists are usually used in nav bars. So when we have nav bars, so we can just flex them and use we can flex them, we can float them. So those are used to achieve our nav bar. So then we'll be moving on to something called the table in HTML. We have tables in HTML. Okay, so these are so you can guess what it entails from the names. So it is used to draw. They are used to make tables on a particular web page. So before HTML5, in before HTML5, the earlier versions. So tables were used to, so when we have navbar, we have other sections. So tables were used, but that is an outdated method of designing. So we can actually use something called semantic tags and the likes. Okay. So to start with our table, we will start with the table tag. Then a table is divided into two. So we have the table head and we have the table body. So let's start T head, and we have the table body, which is below the sorry, table body. So I think we can have this. So in the table head, so each of them are, we have TR, so that is the first row of the table. So in each of the rows, in a row of table head, so we have TH. So TH. So let's create a table of names of some particular names, emails, and age of some people. So let's say we have name. So if I want to have three different table heads, so I'm going to be making use of this just thrice. So okay, let me just do this. TH. Okay, so I can have this. So name, email, this one, email, then age. Then for me to, so if you check our browser, so we can see the results here. So we have name, age, email, and age. So this is a row. This is the row. Then in the table body, so we can have here, so also a row, first row. So this is going to be different from when we have table head. For table head, each of them are table head items. But instead of that, we are going to be having table data because they are data that are going to be passed into our tables. So we have TD. So let me just come up with your name. Let's say Brad John. Then let me just duplicate this. So let's say I have Brad at gmail.com. Then I have an age here. So let's say maybe 20. When you say if we come to our browser, so we are going to just see a particular row here. So you can see that Brad John, brad@gmail.com, age 20. So we can see this. So this is a row. If I want another row, then I can then come over here. I can come over here and just create another row. So let me just duplicate this. Okay, so let's say I have Nadif Aziz. Then I have na@gmail.com. Then Nadif is 25. So if I come here to my browser, so we can see that this is Nadif. So if we check our console here, so we can see from here it is showing that UL is a block element. So we can see that. So let's go to our span and check. So if we check this in our browser, so it is going to, okay, let me see. Let's see. Well, it is not showing that of span, but we can see for UL. So UL is a block element. So where is it? Okay, we have this here. So UL, we can see that here, block element. So another type of block element is the UL tag and also the OL tag. So if you come here, so this is a table. So we have display of table. So as I was discussing, so we have created another row. So we have this here, Nadif, then the likes. So I think that should be all about tables. Okay, the next thing we'll be discussing is we'll be moving on to forms. We're moving on to forms, okay? Moving on to forms. So I'm sure most of us have seen this in a website. So where you will be asked to register for something and the likes. Okay, so we can add this. So the first tag will be the form tag. So this is asking for an action. So this is just when we dive into JavaScript and the likes and the advances of JavaScript. So this is just used to specify a particular action on what you want your form to do. So if you want it to submit, if you want it to get a particular information from the server, so if you want, we have things like get, we have post. So post is to submit something to the server from a form, and get is to receive information from a particular server. So for now, we don't actually need this, so I'm getting rid of it. Then in form, so we have we have something called the label. Okay, before that, sorry. So we have another example of block element is the div tag. Div tag. So this is the div tag. So it is basically used to define sections. So it is a block element. So same as break. It is doing the same job as break, but break is an outdated. It's kind of like an outdated version. So you rarely see the use of break in a web page. So most are making use of div. So let me come here and use a div. So div. When I come here and another tag is called label. So label is used to show the label of a particular input how should I put it? Yeah, label for an input actually. So let's say I have something here, first name, and so this is the major element in form. So it is called the input tag. So it is also a self-closing tag. So you can see it has no closing tag. So in, as I said, in some libraries where you have to use your input, so it can be self like this, either like this or the first one we did. It has no implications in HTML. So we have this. So if I come over to my browser and check here, so you can see. Okay, let me shift this up a little so we don't have to be looking at the bottom of the screen. Okay, I can just come here and give this a style of okay, margin top. Sorry, let me just put this at the bottom of the screen so it will. Let me just say 100 pixels. Okay, so don't worry about that. We'll be dealing about some of that in HTML. So okay, in CSS, I mean. Aha. So I believe we can see it better like this. Okay, so we have forms. Let me make this. I can just create an heading here and say forms. This is a form. This is a form section. Okay, yes. So if you come over to so we can see here, so we'll be able to differentiate that. So we have this here. So this is an input section, and this is our label. So let me have multiple inputs. So I can have this. So let me just duplicate this. So we have last name, okay. So we also have many input types. So we have password. So we can just. So the difference between this and normal text is it hides. Password is not meant to be seen. So if we come here, whatever we type here will be seen. But if we come here, if we come over to password, so it will be hidden by default. So we can see that. And let's see, it will be hidden by default. Okay. Then we have also email type. Email. These are they are used to confirm and regularize the type of information passed. So if you don't pass an email here, it's going to give an error. So you can see, please include an @ in the email address. Whatever we've written here is missing an @ Okay. So we have another type. So let's have here age. So we can have a number type. Then also let's have something else. So we also have a date type. Okay. So I can have here date of birth. So I can have here a date type. So we can all see that here. So you can see. So this allows us to select, dates. So this is an input section that allows us to input numbers in our. This allows us to input numbers in our input section. So I can input a number here. So it can also be decreased and it can also be increased. Okay. Also, we have something called the text area. Okay, so I can just get rid of this and okay, I can leave this here and say enter a message. Enter a message. Then I can come here and say text area. Sorry. Text area. Okay, so we are going to see the difference between text area and a normal input form. So this allows us to rescale. Okay, so we can see the difference. Actually, you can just I can get rid of this. So these are all attributes. So column is a key and 30 is its value. So these are also we have something called select in form section. So we can have, let's say I have select here. Okay. So all these are we are going to be understanding the use of some of these attributes when we get to CSS and HTML. So I can just say let me just put a name here, gender. Then okay, I can just come here and say label gender. Let me just get rid of this gender. Okay. So then we have something called the option tag. So this allows us to select an option. So male, I'll just come here. Male, sorry, just male. So I can just duplicate this and say female. Okay. So if we go over to our browser, so and we check that, so we can see that we have okay. Okay, we can have this before our select. So I can just come here and put this in a div. So I can put this in a div and put my label here. Okay. So if we come here, so we can see our option here. So male and female. Also, we have something called the image tag in HTML. So these are the major things we'll be dealing with in in forms. Okay, the next thing we'll be talking about is the image tag. So here we can see some attributes here. So this is so if I go over to my browser and I so we won't see anything because I've not imported an image yet. So I can just come over here and just import an image. Let me see. Okay. So let me just copy an image from here. So I can then go over to, let's see, my desktop, and this is my file, my HTML file, my HTML folder. So I can just paste that here. Okay, let me rename this for a better optimization. So let me just say img. So we can then import this in our browser. So I can just come here and say the name of our image. We'll then be able to see our image in our file structure here. So we can see it image.jpg. Then so all I have to do is just import my image here. So this source it points to the directory our of our image. So if I come over here and I come over to my website, so our page, so we can see this here. So this is an image. Also, uh, an image tag has other attributes like width and height. So width and height. So this can be used to increase the height of a particular image. So we can have, let's say, let me increase this to like 400. So we can see a difference. So if you go over to our console in the browsers and I click on this, so you can see here 400. Our image has a width of 400 pixel and an height of 400 pixels. So we can see that here. So you can see it here. Also, it is because we have this in the same folder of our projects. So most times when you move into advanced processes in web development, so you might have a different folder for images. So let's create a folder here, and I have images. Okay. So let's put our image in the images folder. So if I'm to go back to my browser, so we won't be able to find the image. Yes. So that is when the alt attribute comes in. This alt attribute. So we can see alt defines an alternative text description of the image. So if I come here and I say this is a profile image. So let's say if for some reason in our browser, or let's say if for some reasons our server was not able to render an image immediately, so it shows this alternative text here. So let me come here and have this so we'll be able to see each one. Okay, so let's say for some reasons our image was not able to properly load from the server, so it will show an alternative text here. So that is the use of the alt attribute. So the image is not showing on our browser because we gave a wrong directory. So for me to be able to enter this folder, so I can use this to go into the folder. So by default it shows the directories. So if I come here and enter this, so what I'm trying to say is if I go into the images folder, which is in the same folder with our HTML document. So if I go into the images folder, after going into the images folder, I can then pick this particular image.jpg. So if I come here and I come to my browser, so we can see that we have our images back. So we can see that the same thing goes for Vue 2. So we can actually put a video here. So using the video tag. So the same thing goes for video. So let's say I have is there any video? Let me see. Okay, let's come here. So let's say I have a video here. And I go over to my folder. Okay. And I go over to the desktop and import my. So let's have another folder here. I can just create a new folder and say, okay, a new folder. I can just say assets. So I can then put in my images here. So inside my images, then inside my assets, I can then create a new folder called video. And inside my video, then I can then paste in my video. Okay, so if you go to our browser, so we can see that the image was. Okay, can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Hello.
Yes.
Okay, so we can see that the image won't show in the browser because there's an error in the directory. So we can then come over here and say yes, assets and images, and so then for me to import my video, so I can then say my video is in the assets folder, then in the video folder, then this. So if I come over to the browser, so we can then see our okay, we can then see our video. Coming. Let me rename this. Okay. Okay, so let's go over to our browser. Okay, let me see. I don't know why there's an error. Okay, let's come over to our console and check. Okay, so let's try reducing the size of the image. Okay, I don't know why there's an error in the video, but let's move on so we can come back to that. Okay, so we have other tags that are used to make emphasis on text. So we have an HR tag. So this is used to draw an horizontal line. We can come here. So if we check our browser, so we can see our horizontal line in the browser. So majorly we are done. We've done the major parts of HTML. Okay. So we dealt with dealing from yesterday's class. We dealt with major aspects of front-end engineering, and we started with HTML. So we dealt with different tags in HTML. So we also explained different tags: the heading tag, the paragraph tag, the span tag, uh, the break tag, and we also described what um, block and inline elements are. So we can actually manipulate our HTML with CSS. So we'll be dealing with that from the next class. So let me just quickly give us an overview. So now let's have another file here. Let me create another file here. Okay. Um blog.html. Okay, so as I said, HTML is the building blocks of websites. So let's try creating a blog site here. Okay. So we can just come here and say a new blog. New blog, yes. So let's see. We have an heading here. So we have H1. So let's say a website or my website. Okay, so there's also something before I move on. There's also something called the semantic tags. So they are used to describe sections in HTML. So they can be used to define different sections in HTML. So semantic tags are elements with meaning. So they clearly describe its meaning to both the browser and the developer. So we have different semantic tags. So we have the article tag, the aside tag, the details tag, the fig caption, the figure, footer, header, and many others like that. So you can actually just use them to structure your website. So example, we have header. Header is used to describe the particular heading of a particular site. So sections are also used to define sections in a site. So example, let's say I have so let's use semantic tags here. So I can just come here and say header and use H1. My blog site. Then and create many other and create another section here. So section. So this, let's say I want my site here, so I can just say a div, or let's just leave that section. So we can have H1 blog 1. So there's also something called a small tag. I forgot to mention that, a small tag. So let's say written by Google. So let me change this to blog.html. So we can see. So blog one. Okay. So then we can now have a section here. This. I'm saying Lauren, blah blah blah. So we can see this here. Now browser. So we can see that here. So let's have different sections. So this is blog 2, blog 3. So at the end of our blog, we can now have a link. So let's say a tag, and let's say this should say read more and the likes. So if you go over to our site, so we can see it is just a basic looking blog site. So it may not really look that attractive, but when we add CSS to it, so let me just add a little bit of CSS so we can all just see an overview. Okay. I can come here and let's say, okay. Or instead, let me just give this an inline style. So I can just say text align, center. So you can see this has gone to the center, and let me just give it a background so you can see. So let me just say black. So we can't see anything, okay. And let me just come here and say color. Okay, so we can see that we are seeing this. So by default, our browser gives a particular web page a default padding and margin. So if we come here, so we can see it has a margin of 8 pixels. So I can actually remove that using CSS. So I can go over to the body tag and just get rid of the default padding. So let me just come here and say body tag. So let's say body or margin 0, padding 0. So this is going to get rid of the default. So we can see that it is containing the old. We see no space here. There are no space to be found. So we can see it has crossed out the default margin and padding of the website. So I can actually increase this. So you can see that we can beautify our website using CSS. So that will be all for today, and I believe you all enjoyed today's class on more on HTML syntax and basics. So I'll be giving just 5 minutes for questions. Just 5 minutes. So the remaining people can ask their questions using text. So just 5 minutes for questions. So anybody? Since there are no questions, nobody with questions. So since there are no questions, we'll be ending the class for today. Thank you very much.